To many of his supporters, Leonard Peltier was a political prisoner unjustly punished for his activism with the American Indian movement. To his critics, he is a remorseless killer of 2 FBI agents 50 years ago, a charge he denies. In the final minutes of his presidency, Joe Biden commuted Peltier's sentence, restricting him to home confinement. Our Fred DeSam Lazaro recently visited Peltier on the Turtle Mountain Indian Reservation in North Dakota.
Yeah. Can you see that screen, or is it too small?
No, it's too small.
His sight is impaired among several health problems, time in prison compounding the toll of time itself.
Play Welcome Home, Uncle Leonard.
Time has brought helpful technology, and at his home today, Leonard Peltier is surrounded by memories and art, much of it his own work.
That's the drawing right here. I've always wanted to be an artist. And then I painted murals and stuff before I went to prison. And when I got there, I probably painted 2, 3, 4 hours a day. And this guy was a modern-day medicine man.
That sustained him through the decades in federal prisons, he says, as did moral support of fans and celebrities worldwide.
This was given to me.
One prized possession, the sculpture of an ancient indigenous warrior sent to him by then Bolivian President
Evo Morales,
Alright.
the first full-blooded Indian president in this continent. I'm very proud of it.
This home was bought for him by his supporters, a modest 2-bedroom rambler, but after a life in poverty or prison, it's an unimaginable luxury.
When I walked in the door, I said, "This is my home? This is what you guys bought me?" They said, "Yeah. You sacrificed for us. This is yours."
I just want to acknowledge the generation before us. Think about everything that Leonard AIM, the American Indian movement, did. His own freedom.
And we're going to keep calling for Leonard's freedom.
Nick Tilson, who heads the indigenous advocacy group NDN Collective, helped lead the most recent campaign to bring Peltier home, literally, including a rousing welcome earlier this year.
They didn't wait for things to be perfect. They didn't wait for a strategic plan. When they seen the injustice, they did something about it. And so for me, one of the big things that's being a big inspiration from him.
We called every goddamn name you could be called, so that the public would hate us. No, we weren't those people.
At 81, Leonard Peltier is as angry as ever, unapologetic for a lifelong effort to draw attention to the litany of indigenous grievances.
All we were trying to do was save a race of people from being terminated. God damn, they enslaved us, killed us, massacred us, raped our children, enslaved our children.
Leonard Peltier says he felt his first call to activism as a young teen here on Turtle Mountain Reservation in North Dakota, a small, isolated Chippewa community that Congress was considering terminating in the 1950s. Termination was part of a larger policy of assimilating indigenous people, and it would have ended all federal support for the community here. Turtle Mountain was eventually spared termination, but the young Peltier did feel the sting of assimilation policies, placed when he was 9 in an Indian boarding school. The children were forcibly removed from their families with the goal of erasing their native language and culture. Many schools were rife with abuse.
All of our hair was cut off, and they would start indoctrinating us into the white culture and education, whatever you want to call it. And when we continued to be rebellious about it, we would get the hell beat out of us.
Federal policies also relocated millions of Native Americans to urban centers and confiscated vast swaths of mineral-rich lands beyond those ceded in treaties. The legacy, impoverished reservations, and an indifferent Federal Bureau of Indian Affairs, which Peltier says colluded with local tribal governments.
You know, land and cattle, they were selling out. We knew that. Almost every tribal government was corrupt back in them days. That's why we went after them.
We is the American Indian Movement, or AIM, armed self-described warriors who challenged the status quo. Like the Black Panthers and civil rights and anti-war campaigners of the time, they drew scrutiny from the FBI, particularly on and near the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. In June 1975, 2 FBI agents and 1 movement activist were killed in an encounter near an AIM campsite. Peltier was one of 3 AIM members charged in the agents' killing. He fled to Canada, while the other 2 were tried and acquitted after arguing that they acted in self-defense.
Had he been tried alongside his co-defendants, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Nick Estes, professor of American Indian Studies at the University of Minnesota, says by the time Peltier was extradited back to the U.S., prosecutors changed their strategy and the trial venue. Estes is one of many academic and legal scholars who've questioned its fairness.
He just happened to be an American Indian man on the reservation that day in possession of a gun, because they could not actually prove that he was the shooter.
He's been unrepentant. He's been remorseless.
Well, he says that he did not kill these agents, so that would explain his lack of repentance, I suspect.
Well, the evidence, the courts, the appellate courts all say differently.
Michael Clark heads an association of former FBI agents. The agency has long vigorously opposed any clemency, insisting justice was served in Peltier's case.
He had 12 separate opportunities for appeals, all of which were denied. You just can't change the facts of this heinous crime.
Why haven't they sustained on appeal?
The overwhelming influence of the FBI. I mean, it's easy to just keep saying this. The way that the FBI has intervened, not only in his parole hearings, but in these appeals cases. Who wants to be the judge that lets off an alleged cop killer?
An allegation Peltier insists was false, brought by a legal system that has long mistreated Indigenous people, and one reason he says he spurned any plea deal that might have lessened his sentence.
I'm a Sundancer. I took that oath as a Sundancer. I would die for the people if I had to, but I was not going to turn against my people. So I stayed defiant all the 49 years plus in prison.
And you say even today?
And today, you hear me now, I ain't changed.
Neither have the dire conditions in most Indigenous communities and the campaigns for the return of lands for treaty rights.
We will continue to rise up no matter what faces our people.
Peltier will be there mostly in spirit, not in person, thanks to frail health and restrictions on his travel.
I can't go to Grand Forks for medical treatment without a pass. Or anything over 100 miles. I can only stay so many days. I can't have a whole bunch of people here visiting me at one time. I still haven't seen some of my family.
And is that your little sister, Betty?
My little sister Betty, yeah.
Aside from reuniting with family members, this twice-married father of 7 hopes upcoming treatment will improve his vision so he can resume painting.
This is going to be my studio.
Less certain is his second hope for a full pardon. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Fred DeSam Lazaro on the Turtle Mountain Chippewa Reservation.